Hello student, welcome back. It is module 3, lecture 4, satellite communication, MECE 106A, Shongita Roy, assistant professor, electronics and communication engineering department, Narula Institute of Technology. Today's class is the extension of the previous class. In the previous class, we have completed attitude control tracking. Today we will do power control and antenna subsystem. So this is the total satellite in the space. It is the antenna module, it is the repeater module, and it is the service module. The goal of designing this subsystem is to minimum mass, minimum consumption, high reliability. Emphasis on this topic, the design of the satellites is done. So the subsystem, what is carried by the satellite is given by this: attitude and orbit control, propulsion, electric power supply, telemetry tracking, TTC, thermal control, structure. The attitude control, the main criteria is its accuracy, its function is attitude stability, orbit determination. Propulsion defines provision of velocity increment. Its characteristics is specific impulse, mass of propellant, whereas electric power supply provides electric energy to the subsystem and power and voltage stability should be high. Telemetry tracking and command control division provides electric exchange of housekeeping information, number of channels, security of communications. Thermal control provides thermal maintenance and dissipation capability because there is a lot of fluctuation in the environment at space. Structure, equipment support, rigidity, and it should be as light as possible. So interface is very important when you are going to join two different subsystems because they are different entity and in the space there is no scope for repairment, or if it is, but that will be very risky and high cost. So interface system should be as rigid as possible. That is, mechanical vibrations is there, thermal temperature fluctuation, heat fluctuation, electromagnetic wave fluctuations are there, electric voltage, lot of thunderstorms are there, lot of things are in between the atmosphere when it has to pass, there are lot of things are there, so it can support that, or it can sustain all those difficulties. And data rate should be as reliable as possible. So we are not going to the detail because we have already covered this. We will go to our required destination. So this is the stability of satellite we have already covered. Angular momentum. So satellite without onboard angular momentum we have already covered, but for the continuation of the previous class we are going to do this. In spite of the constraint imposed by the high dynamics of satellite attitude variations which require continuous control, it is feasible not to take advantage of gyroscopic rigidity provided by installation of one or more interior and inertia wheels on board. This permits considerable freedom in respect of satellite attitude and allows the orientation to be continuously modified. For example, to shift the radio frequency coverage of the antennas or to compensate the effects of pointing displacement caused by non-nominal orbit, that is to non-zero inclination. The propulsion subsystem. The role of the propulsion subsystem is maintained to generate forces which act on the center of mass of the satellite. This modifies forces the satellite orbit either to ensure injection into a predetermined orbit or to control drift of the nominal orbit. The propulsion system also serves to produce torques to assist the attitude control system. The forces generated by the propulsion units are reaction forces resulting from the expulsion material. Characteristics of thrusters. There are two classes of thruster to be considered. Low power thrusters from a few million tons to a few newtons, which are used for attitude and orbit control. Reaction Control System RCS. Medium and high power thrust from several hundreds of newtons to several tens of thousands of newtons, which are used for orbit changes during the launch phase, depending on the type of launcher used. These thrusters from the apogee kick motor AKM or the perigee kick motor PKM. Chemical propulsion. The principle of chemical propulsion consists of generating gases at high temperature by chemical combustion of liquid or solid propellants. These gases are accelerated by the nozzle. Operation of liquid propellant propulsion. Liquid propellant propulsion systems contain reservoirs to store the propellants and a pressurization system to drive the propellants from the reservoirs, pipework on which the filters, valves, pressure tappings, filling and draining orifices, etc. are mounted, and the thrusters themselves. Precise thermal control maintains the temperature of the various internal parts within a range which is often narrow. The difference between the freezing and boiling temperatures of the propellants can be small. Thermal control is ensured by use of both insulating material and electrical heaters. As far as the reservoirs, pipework and valves are concerned, and by heat sinks which ensure extraction of the heat generated from the combustion chamber and the motor nozzles into the satellite structure. Electric propulsion. Electric propulsion involves the use of an electrostatic or electromagnetic field to accelerate and eject ionized material. Electric propulsion is an advanced technology in comparison with chemical propulsion. It is characterized by low thrust, less than 0.1 Newton, with a high specific impulse 1000 to 10,000 seconds. A notable reduction can thus be achieved in the mass of propellants to be embarked in comparison with chemical technologies. On the other hand, the operating times are much greater in view of the low thrust. Electric propulsion, above all, requires a large amount of electrical power. In the specification of a system, therefore, not only the specific impulse but also the specific power must be considered. The latter is equal to the ratio of the electric power to the thrust. It is of the order of 25 to 50 watt per Newton per millinewton, depending on the type of thrusters. Ionic propulsion. In an ionic thruster, charged particles or ions are accelerated by an electric field. The ionized material is a heavy metal which is in liquid state at the storage temperature in order to facilitate feeding to the thruster. Examples are mercury, xenon, cesium. It is necessary to neutralize the beam by ejecting the same quantity of charge of the opposite sign in order to avoid raising the satellite to an excessive potential with respect to the surrounding medium. This is achieved by means of an electron gun or a neutralizer. Various types of thrusters have been developed. They differ in the technique used to obtain the ions from the metallic atoms as follows. Implementation aspects. With electric propulsion, high specific impulses enable the mass of propellant embarked to be reduced in comparison with chemical thrusters. On the other hand, electric thrusters require additional electrical energy which can lead to an increase in the mass of the solar generators. In total, they are advantageous only for satellites with a big lifetime greater than 7 years. Organization of the propulsion subsystem. The organization of the propulsion subsystem varies in accordance with the types of propulsion used. Electric propulsion for station keeping and orbit transfer. The previous section underlined the benefits of electric propulsion for station keeping in connection with the use of chemical propulsion for GTO to GEO orbit transfer. The high specific impulse of electric propulsion compared to chemical propulsion makes it appealing also for orbit transfer. However, its much lower thrust imposes long thrust durations. Different thrust strategies have been investigated in view of the spacecraft operation constraints. The smaller overall duration of the orbit transfer is obtained by continuous thrust, but this does not minimize the propellant consumption. The electric power supply. In view of limitations in mass and volume, the electric power supply of a satellite poses one of the most restricting problems. The increase of effective isotropic radiated power necessary for the use of small Earth station means that the electric power required is over 10 kilowatts for communication satellites, particularly those intended for broadcasting of television or for mobile and personal communications. The electric power to be provided is directly related to the radio frequency power of the amplifiers in the payload as a function of their efficiency. The electric power supply subsystem consists of primary energy sources. The only external sources is solar radiation. Onboard sources of energy, nuclear piles or combustible materials are not at present technologically satisfactory for performing the mission of a geostationary communication satellite. However, during the first minutes following injection into the transfer orbit phase, on-board electrochemical accumulators which subsequently constitute the secondary energy source play the role of a primary energy source. Secondary energy sources. The secondary energy sources from the primary energy source when it is operational and return the stored energy when the primary energy source ceases to operate. Battery cell parameters. The characteristics parameter of a battery cell are as follows. Capacity C in ampere hour, product of the current drawn and the time of use. Specific energy, watt hour per kg, the energy stored per unit mass. Mean discharge voltage Vd in volt depend on the intensity of the discharge current. Depth of discharge DOD, the percentage of the stored energy which is effectively used at the end of the longest period of use without recharging. Charge efficiently HCH, the ratio of the energy stored to the energy consumed for recharging. Discharge efficiency HD, the ratio of recovered energy to the part of the stored energy which has been used. So this is a typical variation of the number of cycles as a function of the depth of discharge at 25 degrees Celsius. So different type of batteries has been shown for nickel cadmium, nickel hydrogen, nickel iron. So it is shown that the depth of discharge and corresponding cycle. So nickel cadmium discharges slowly, whereas lithium ion discharges very fast. So these are the different batteries. Lithium ion cells packaged in a battery module. So the characteristics of the battery cells: nickel cadmium electrolyte, it is KOH solution; nickel hydrogen KOH solution; lithium ion non-aqueous; silver cadmium KOH solution; silver zinc KOH solution; lead acid diluted sulfuric acid. And corresponding, these are the voltage, these are the energies, these are the operating temperatures in which they are operated good. Cycle life 25%, 50%, 70%, it is its characteristics is showing. Operation of the battery. Battery charging. Battery charging is generally performed at constant current, the current ICH being used, that ICH is equal to C by 10 to C by 15 in ampere, where C is the cell capacity expressed in ampere hour. So this is discharging characteristics of nickel hydrogen cell. It is the percentage in degrees Celsius and it is corresponding voltage. Condition and protection circuits. The voltage delivered by the primary energy source, the solar generator, depends on the operating point. The power available depends on the incident solar flux and the degree of degradation of the solar cells due to irradiation. Unregulated bus. The schematic arrangement showing in figure 28, the solar generator feeds the platform equipment directly and the payload by way of distribution unit. The operating point is defined by the intersection of the current, voltage, Ig and Vg characteristics of the generator, and that is presenting over there. It is the solar generator battery and it is the solar generator. It is normal battery. It is a battery control unit. It is the power control unit and it is distributing unit to the satellite power unit. It is unregulated bus supply. So operating point with the various types of voltage regulation bus. So this point is the operating point. So this is voltage and this is the corresponding current. And power, dissipated power is given by product of voltage into current. And IGVG shows the operating point. Sun regulated bus. In order to limit voltage variation, for most of the time voltage is regulated during periods of sunlight. The organization of the power system is presented in figure 30. The solar generator feeds the equipment at constant voltage by means of a voltage regulator. Outside eclipses, the equipment supply voltage is thus kept constant, equal to VR, within a range of a few % depending on the Performance of the regulator. Two operating points are now defined on figure 29. These are that of the solar generator point R and that of the load point R dashed. The segment RR dashed represents the current ISH shunted through the regulator. It has already shown RR dashed. This is RR dash, this is a shunt current. So sun regulated bus supply is given by this. So solar generator, voltage limiter or shunt generator. So this is the diode, the power control unit, this is the battery control unit, and it is going to the distribution unit of the satellite. And BCR indicates battery charge regulator. Regulated bus. Voltage regulation during sunlight and eclipses periods is obtained by decoupling the battery from the bus by means of a battery discharge regulator BDR. It is shown in figure 31. During sunlight, a voltage regulator maintains constant voltage of the solar generator and thus the bus to which the equipment is connected. During an eclipse, the battery provides the power to the bus by way of BDR, which keeps the bus voltage constant and equal to VR. Regulated bus power supply. Other organizations. The three organizations presented above are not the only possible ones, and other combination can be conceived. Hence, it is possible to use one or more dedicated elements of the solar generator for battery recharging instead of taking power from the main bus. Organization of shunt and series regulator. This is obviously for shunt and this is for series regulator. Comparison of various architectures. Now the redundancy, protection and distribution circuits. Redundancy of the main elements of the electric power supply subsystem is impossible on account of the mass and large bulk. To minimize the chance of catastrophic breakdown and loss of the whole subsystem due to the failure of one element, the subsystem on a communication satellite is generally organized into two separate supply branches on which the satellite equipment is distributed. Each of these two branches is fed by one wing of the solar generator and associated with a separate battery. Interconnection facilities are provided for the various elements in case of breakdown of one of them. The secondary equipment are replicated. Now the antenna subsystem. The satellite antenna design depends upon the objectives of the communication services and type of spacecraft to be employed. Important considerations include the orbit attitude, station keeping, control method, radio frequencies and bandwidth, service area or footprint, spacecraft structure, launched vehicle capabilities and user terminal characteristics. As the industry developed, the need for efficient utilization of the orbit, GSO and radio spectrum resulted in antennas with cross-polarization and beam discrimination properties to achieve frequency reuse. This introduces additional problem for antenna designers since the size of the antenna is an inverse function of the size of the beam. By exhibiting considerable innovative techniques such as the use of multiple feeds for a single parabolic antenna, beams have been shaped to cover many geometrical complex services. In conjunction with the solar panels, the design of high-gain antennas for the principal communication services usually dictates the spacecraft designs, since each frequency band requires a receive and a transmit antenna. Satellite using multiple frequency bands increase the structure and logistic requirements of the spacecraft. If the uplink and downlink frequencies are relatively close, that is to 64, 1412 GHz, the same antenna reflector can be used for both receive and transmit function. Diplexers are used to separate the signals. In some designs in which linear cross-polarization is used, superimposed reflectors provide a compact antenna system that occupies the space of a single reflector. Structures. Early versions of low-altitude satellites used monopole antennas with passive magnetic stabilization for attitude control. These grew in sophistication and capability as large antennas were designed which laid folded during the launch phase and deployed after insertion into orbit. New LEO satellite system currently being developed plan to use a combination of phased array and reflector antennas. Glimpses of new sophisticated satellite antenna designed planned for LEO satellite is provided in section 6.5. Spin stabilization satellites require the antenna to be mounted on the dispan portion of the spacecraft. Many systems use offset fed parabolic antenna which continuously face the Earth and depicted in figure 33. Early satellite restricted the size of the antennas to fit within the nose fairing of the launch vehicle without folding. Later, as service demands increased and designs improved, the antennas grew in size and had to be shored during the launch phase and deployed in the orbit. So it is a spin stabilized satellite with its antennas. These two are antennas. Hemispheric zonal receive antenna 2.0 meter reflector and feed network. 3-axis stabilization spacecraft increase the design option for satellite antennas both in size and complexity. The side of the satellite that always faces the Earth is a logical platform for the location of the center or near center fed antennas. However, the adjacent sides also provide excellent platform for off-axis fed antennas. Some of the structural options which have been used for GSO satellites include a lower structure in which antenna reflectors are mounted on the side facing the Earth. Although this arrangement provides for relatively simple antenna design, the disadvantage is the long length of the waveguides connecting the transponder power amplifiers with the antenna feed. Mounting the antennas on the east or west side of the satellite equipment housing or box as shown in figure 34. The feed waveguides are shorter than in the previous example. This arrangement requires folding or showing of the antennas against the spacecraft body during launch and deployment of the reflector upon insertion into orbit as shown in 34. Flexibility is provided for those satellites employing more than one frequency band and associated antennas. Many satellites systems operate with both 64 GHz and 10 to 12 GHz frequency bands. So, east reflector deployed configuration, west reflector deployed configuration. This is west feed, this is east feed, TTC antenna. So this is yaw, Z to Earth. It is east plus X rolling and east reflector towed configuration. It is tilting, little bit of tilting. It is west reflector towed configuration. This is TTC. West reflector deployed configuration. Using direct radiating arrays which can be mounted on the side facing the Earth as shown in figure 35, this type of antenna does not require a reflector and can be installed with a relatively simple structure. So this is the pitch, this is north, this is solar array, sequential shunting, roll thrusters, this is OSR, this is 6.4 GHz band transmitting antenna, this is 6.4 GHz band receiving antenna. This is earth rolling side, this is earth yaw, and this is IR earth sensor, optical solar reflector, this part, roll thrusters. This is ARB SAT satellite. Performance characteristics. The main characteristics of a satellite antenna are coverage, counter beam configuration, pattern, shape and side lobe level, polarization purity, power handling. RF sensing. Coverage. The coverage area as seen from the satellite is defined by the ISO gain or ISO EIRP contours. The first satellite antenna were formed by reflector fed by circular horns. The structure radiates only circular beams. However, for a given EIRP, the RF power provided by the transponder and therefore the electrical power consumed can be reduced if the transmitting antenna concentrate their radiation on the region to be served, that is to coverage area. Consequently, recently satellite use shaped beam antenna which radiate within the service area contours and avoid overspilling. Although the problem is less restricted on reception, this type of antenna often has to be used here too in order to reduce the earth station uplink RF power equipment and hence the cost of the earth station. It can be demonstrated theoretically that the geometry of the satellite footprint is a good approximation of the antenna feed geometry shown in figure 36 shows the feed geometry and the corresponding coverage and the satellite antenna located at 319 degree west. A better approximation of the desired service area contours would require a larger number of feeds and an increase in the reflector dimension. Table 5 illustrates the impact of the improved shapings on the antenna dimension. So this is the example of antenna feed geometry and corresponding coverage contours. This is the coverage contours and this is the feed geometry. This is the dimension of antenna subsystem weight 51 kg, for 4A, for 5 it is 69 kg, for 6 313 kg. Reflector maximum dimension 1.34 meter, 2.44, 3.2. Maximum number of horns per feet 37, for 5 it is 90, for category 6 it is 146. And this shows different generation of spacecraft. Pattern, shape and side lobe level. Only in the case of high power direct broadcasting satellites are the pattern, shape and the side lobe level spacecraft of the Radio Regulation Recommendation ITU. The extension of the use of this type of masks to all communication satellite would increase the feed complexity and the reflector dimension of the future spacecraft. So this is a reference pattern for the coplanar and cross-polar component for satellite transmitting antennas in region 1 and in region 3. So this is the picture and this is the front lobe and this is the corresponding pattern. Polarization purity and frequency reuse. Polarization discrimination, the limitation on availability, frequency and congestion of the geostationary orbit results in an increased need for the frequency reuse by means of polarization discrimination. Either circular or linear polarization can be used. For circular polarization, the feed horns are generally circular or hexagonal. However, in case of linear polarization, the horns can be rectangular and the number of horn necessary to generate shaped beams can be reduced. For linear polarization, the use of a dual gridded dish is the best way to achieve good polarization discrimination. The advantage over a solid reflector with polarization discrimination in the feed are less complex feed, no frequency sensitivity and separation of the focus, which allows implementation of two different feeds for the frequency reuse. So this is the dual gridded reflector antenna system with superimposed grids. So we are almost completing. I will show you only the necessary figures. So this is the Intelsat 6 typical antenna pattern coverage. This is the coverage of the Intelsat 6. These are the coverage area. This is the power handling capacity of those satellite. So this is a multiple horn feed system and the accompanying beam forming network. This is a phase array antenna. This is a typical diagram of the relative levels in a transponder. So this is the references which I have used over there. So we are going to end the session. So in this session we have completed the satellite power system and antenna module. Hope it is helpful for you, and we will start in the next module. We have completed the module 3. So module 4 we will start in the next classes. So thank you. Bye.